Good morning. Hello, this is Girl with Her Head in a Book. It's taken me quite a few times to get that right. I kept saying Girl with Her Head. Too many H's, a bit confusing. So this is Booktube number 3. Now, I'd not been booktubing for a while because I found it quite repetitive to be talking about the books I was reading and then blogging about them. But I saw Kirsty on Books is Booktube. Kirsty who writes for the Literary Sisters over on WordPress. And she was talking about her reading habits. And I thought, well, that is something a bit different. So I decided to have another go. So, question number one is, do you have a certain place of reading at home? Now, I don't particularly. I always read when I'm having my breakfast. I always have at least one on my Kindle in my bag, more often two, but if I feel like I might possibly finish the first one that day. I always read right before I'm going to bed, so read in bed. But downstairs in the living room, quite often the television's on, and I can actually read while other people are watching television because I quite like the company. But more often, no. I suppose really just sitting on my bed. Question number 2 is bookmark or random piece of paper. Now I have basically been collecting bookmarks since I learnt to read. This one's very special to me. My friend gave me it. It's to do with John of Gaunt, because she knows that although he's been dead for several centuries, I find him rather attractive. This is one I've had since I was about 9 because I thought it was spectacularly beautiful, but I was always leaving it in my library books, and the librarians at the village library were always having to put it to one side to me because they knew I loved it, but I kept losing it. Question number 3. Can you just stop reading, or does it need to be at the end of a chapter or a certain number of pages? I do like actually being able to stop at the end of a chapter. That being said, I've got a very good memory for where I'm at with books, so it's very rare for me to lose my place. So, to be honest, I'll always remember. One thing, going back to the bookmark question, I also quite like it if I've got a ticket or a postcard or something. If I'm using that for a bookmark, then I'll tend to leave it in the book, and then it's quite nice to come back to just as a kind of a memory from when I first read it. My mum does the same thing actually. So you'll find random stuff like this in one book that had the placement, the name cards from when we were bridesmaids from my auntie when I was 3, and it's just really funny finding it all again. Okay, question number 4. Do you eat or drink while reading? Well, I do like a cup of tea. I pretty much always have those, and every day. We're running low on tea in the house, and I'm the only person who drinks it, so that kind of gives the game away on that one. But in general, like I said, I eat while I'm having my breakfast. When I'm, if I'm on my own, then I'm having lunch, and I'll have a book out with me. It's interesting how you can kind of associate things with depending on what you're eating while you're reading, because I did this fictional minds course a little while ago to do with the University of Nottingham online, and it was saying about how if you're drinking a cold drink, then you'll have a cold reaction towards books, and if you're drinking something hot, you might have a warmer reaction. I don't know if I always agree with that, but a couple of months ago I was reading The Truth About the Harry Colbert Affair, and also eating the best, finest, most delicious piece of red velvet cake I've ever had in my life. And it is true that when I think about the Harry Colbert Affair, I just remember just how amazing that cake was. It was out of this world. And it sounds as if I'm getting a bit overexcited, but it was that good. Okay, next question. One book at a time or several at once? Well, anybody who's read my blog before knows that I'm not really a one book at a time kind of girl. I always have something to read on the Kindle because I use my Kindle when I'm at the gym. I always have a fiction book going, and I pretty much always have a non-fiction as well. Non-fiction can sometimes take a bit longer. Okay, next question. Reading out loud or silently in your head? Again, I enjoy both. Going back a long way, like 20 years ago, I was the first person in my year 2 class to be told to give it a go at reading silently in my head. And once I learned how to do that, then it was fantastic because I could just read independently. I didn't need anybody to hear me. But equally, in my private reading, I always would read silently. But equally, I think reading out loud can be just so much fun. I've been a teacher for a couple of years, and I've just decided to try something different. But reading out loud to my class was something that I absolutely adored. We read Matilda, And because of all the scenes of the Trunchbull teaching Matilda's class, it's fantastic. It's so much fun. And yeah, I think it's really great to have a deeper understanding of a text. I mean, when I was at university, I had to study Paradise Lost, and I just was not getting it when I was reading it internally. And I remember I read it out loud to my cousins, and they didn't have a clue, because it's not very readily accessible language, but it really helped me to understand it better just by that experience of reading it out loud. Okay, next question. Do you ever read ahead or skip pages? I don't skip pages because I always think that something really important will have happened. But I am pretty bad for reading ahead. When I was used to read the Harry Potter books when I was growing up, I always used to worry about the characters I liked. So I decided, I would just always check those last couple of pages as Harry was stepping off the Hogwarts Express to make sure that he and Ron and Hermione had made it alive. But I mean, I worry. It's just kind of my personality. I'm bad for it in the cinema as well. There's a couple of times in scary films I've looked it up on Wikipedia to see how it ended, which is really, really sad, and I shouldn't admit that. Next question: breaking the spine or keeping it new? When it's somebody else's book, I will go to extraordinary lengths to protect it because it's so embarrassing having to give back a damaged book. I mean, this book here is my mother's copy of Wolf Hall, which I gave her about 5 years ago, and I borrowed it after she'd finished it because she said it was one of her favourite ever books. But transporting it, I put it in 3 separate plastic bags. When I got it to where I was living at the time, it did not leave that house. So I can keep a book pristine, but books that I have truly loved, by contrast, this is my childhood copy of Catherine Cole Birdie. It's battered. It's badly battered. Because books that I love, that they travel with me. They used to either go to the bottom of my backpack, or now I'm a bit older, my handbag. There's other stuff in there: keys, wallet, bottles of water. Books that I loved do get battered. Okay. Next question: do you write in your books? Yes, I do. Not all the time. I also have this notebook, and for books that I'm reviewing, then I don't know how well it comes out, but I make my notes in my notebook that then I can use when I'm reviewing. But what I do tend to do, here, see, I've written my name and the rather charming childhood verse of "if this book should ever roam, box its ears and send it home." Because when I was 9, or maybe 8, I can't remember, I was off school ill one day, but I can't have been that ill because I used this pink Peter Rabbit stamp and stamped every single book in my collection with this Peter Rabbit, "this book belongs to" stamp, and wrote my name. So I always have that in all of them. And then The 13th Tale, that was really the book that started me blogging, because I wrote, where is it? Yeah, I wrote all the things that annoyed me about that book all over the back. If it's my book, I'll write in it. If I borrowed it from somebody else, then no, I won't. But I'm not very precious about that sort of thing. Last question: what are you currently reading? Okay, very quickly, because this Booktube is getting a bit long. I am reading, I can't begin to tell you. I'm focusing on that one mainly at the moment because I want to get it finished. It's to do with the 1940s in Denmark, and it's to do with resistance and the spies who are behind enemy lines there. It's actually really good. I got sent it from Goodreads, but I'm really, really enjoying it. And it's not a book that I would have come to just by myself, so I'm really glad I've been sent this. I'm also reading Blitz Kids, which is about children in the Second World War. So it relates really to that other one. But it's not about the evacuation. It's about the young boys in the Merchant Navy who are quite often only 13 or 14. It's about people who joined underage, because there's a lot written about child soldiers in World War I, but less about it in World War II. It's really, really good. Just started The Vagenda as well, which looks quite entertaining. It's about women, how they're represented in the media. Because I don't tend to buy magazines because I'm cheap and it's too much money. I spend so much money on books, but I just don't spend it on magazines. And then I have this one that I was sent by the Hesperus Press, and they've been so lovely about how long it's taken me to get to it, so it is high on the list. Then I've also got A Private's We, which is about experiences of people in the trenches in World War One. And then Bookbridger have sent me this one, the Gutenberg's Apprentice, and I am very interested in the Gutenberg Press. I'm looking forward to it too. So this has been a long booktube, but it had been a while since I last did it. So thank you very much, and goodbye.